a few years back, the entire gaming industry, every pundit, idiot, and moron was talking about how bad the Microsoft Activision Blizzard King deal was going to be, how it was going to be terrible for the gaming industry, how consolidation will, in fact, ruin everything in the gaming space, and it's all going to be Microsoft's fault. Well, take it away, Janice.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
It turns out Microsoft wasn't the big bad the entire time. It looks like the big bad in the gaming industry for consolidation also wasn't Tencent. It's actually Saudi Arabia. You see, Saudi Arabia has been on a massive buyout tear in the gaming space. And if you're thinking to yourself, wait, what have they actually bought? Well, it turns out they in fact purchased Evo. All of it. They bought all of Evo. Yeah. They also bought 96% of SNK. And they were even talking about how Saudi Arabia won't have any impact on SNK in the first place, yet turning around and putting Cristiano Ronaldo inside of Fatal Fury. But hey, no influence, am I right? But honestly, it gets crazier than that, because a couple of years ago, remember a company called the Embracer Group, who bought basically every B studio and IP under the sun in the gaming space? Well, they fell apart because of a $2 billion secret investor. And it turns out that secret investor that backed out of that deal was Savvy Games. And the Savvy Game Group is based out of, you guessed it, Saudi Arabia. There is an entire, dare I say, kingdom of Saudi Arabia going out and buying everything they possibly can in the gaming space, whether it's investing, whether it's flat out buying. And now it's gotten even crazier because they didn't just buy one or two little things. They bought all of Electronic Arts. According to PC Gamer, EA strikes a $55 billion deal to go private in a Saudi-backed buyout just a week before the launch of Battlefield 6. EA shares will be valued at $210 a pop. Now, I want you to keep that idea of the actual value of Electronic Arts shares, because EA has been a notoriously whole company. This is the same kind of publisher that has gone through, purchased multiple development studios, and then gone through and basically run them through the mud, then canned everybody at the studio, liquidated everything, and then sat on IPs doing nothing with them. Remember the entire Command & Conquer mobile game? I do. Yeah, not a good time to be a CNC fan, might I add. But it turns out the chickens have come home to roost, because this entire deal isn't just Saudi Arabia buying out EA. No, this is what's called a leverage buyout. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment, how this is going to impact all of the gaming space. But let's see what the article had to say and go from there. Electronic Arts has announced today that its plans to go private have gone ahead. A consortium that includes Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners, alongside a private equity firm, Silver Lake, have snapped up EA in a $55 billion deal via Reuters. So now we're seeing not just one, not two, but three private equity firms going around and spending billions of dollars inside of the video game space. This isn't just Saudi Arabia buying one thing. This is now, in addition, two other firms separate in the space getting into the tech and video game sector. And this isn't the first time this has happened. In fact, it happened recently with Intel themselves, with CNBC reporting that the U.S. government is taking 10% stake in Intel as Trump expands control over the private sector. We are seeing millions and billions of dollars being moved around really quickly. We're not talking about consolidation with Microsoft and Xbox with ABK like we saw back in the past. No, we're talking about total governmental entities going in and spending billions of dollars with other private equity firms and having massive stakes inside of these companies. We had PlayStation fanboys talking about, oh, Sony owns Kadokawa now. No, we're talking about like actual governmental entities owning an entire publishing arm and then taking that entire publishing branch private. And what's crazier is the amount of debt that EA themselves took on their own to make this deal happen. The article continues by saying, as part of this deal, it's also been announced that EA shareholders will all get $210 per share in cash. This represents a premium of 25% of EA's closing share price on September 25th, 2025, just before any reports of the deal were hinted at, as reports from the Wall Street Journal guessed that the deal could be anywhere between $50 billion, not too far from the result. The $55 billion deal also now cements EA as the biggest ever leveraged buyout, usurping the $45 billion buyout of Texas utility group TXU in 2007. For reference, a leveraged buyout is when a private equity firm uses a large amount of borrowed money to finalize the deal, with what is to be acquired used as collateral in the debt, effectively leaving the bought out company liable for the debt. The company's future income will be used to repay the debt over a period of time. In this instance, $20 billion of the financing for the buyout comes via a loan from JP Morgan. That is absolutely, honestly insane. If you want me to break it down even further for you, EA themselves took on this debt directly in order to go ahead and be bought and put back to a private company, no longer being public and being controlled by shareholders. Now they're basically controlled via the inside, and they don't have to report on anything at all. Seeing as how, yes, their past couple of games have been pretty big flops, that doesn't mean they're not making money hand over fist. Remember, this is the same company that said they have surprise mechanics, not loot boxes, directly in front of everyone to their faces. And what you're seeing is the fact that even though this deal was going through, it turns out there may be some foul play even happening in the background. Check this out. Unusual Whales on Twitter said this: wow, just before the announcement that Electronic Arts was to go private on Friday, there were 180 calls expiring literally this week on October 3rd. There was early volume at around 37 cents per contract. They sold for nearly $15. They made millions. And today, EA was announced to be acquired by PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners for $210 a share. Someone always knows. Oh, you know, we're just Electronic Arts. We do a little bit of alleged insider trading. We do a little bit of alleged market manipulation. That's all we doing around here. Don't worry about it. These are just surprise calls in the stock market. Sure, we're going to take the company private and walk away as shareholders, making a ton of money and not providing anything back to the actual employees or the company itself. But hey, you know what? Surprise stock exchanges, am I right? This is honestly insane. Watching EA be the scummiest of scum in every single practice has got to be the funniest thing of all time, seeing as how this company has always been pretty much the worst of the worst in every single space in the gaming industry. They have been notorious for going through and adding microtransactions, monetizing everything, and doing everything they possibly can to squeeze every red cent out of your pocket. They're just as bad, dare I say, if not worse, than Ubisoft themselves. Now, talking about this on Twitter myself, the only thing I basically could say was, holy shit, we've got an entire publisher branch being purchased by 2 private equity firms and an entire government going through and putting the entire thing to private ownership. That is honestly insane, because what's going to happen is there is a $20 billion debt, if not more, that EA has to pay back. And remember, these are the worst kind of publishers in the first place. EA has done everything they can, like I said before, to be incredibly insane with microtransactions and monetization. In fact, Jason Schreier on Blue Sky said this: a lot of people are understandably focused on the Saudi Arabia and Kushner part of this, but the far bigger immediate impact will come from the new private EA being on the hook for $20 billion in debt. This could mean mass layoffs, more aggressive monetization, and other big cost-cutting measures. And I'll tell you this right now, has EA made some really dumb plays? Absolutely. Dragon Age: The Veilguard didn't really do so hot now, did it, Jason? And so many other games that were truly not pandering to the actual people who buy games in the first place really wasn't the right call to make. Now, granted, people are in fact trying to celebrate the fact that EA was bought by Saudi Arabia by saying, "Oh, no more woke in my video games." Yeah, okay, you could definitely see that from that one perspective, but I feel like that is an incredibly narrow lens. And Jason's perspective may in fact even be the right one. Look at it from this side. This isn't about the Wokey in the video game or how bad Dragon Age the Veilguard was. This is about a company that is now on the hook for $20 billion and another company that goes through and monetizes everything they possibly can in that space. And if you don't believe me, look at what FIFA has done to the gaming industry as a whole and how much money FIFA makes on its own. Well, not FIFA anymore, FC. And to give you some perspective, Statista in fact made a graph showing how much EA actually makes simply just off of extra content and microtransactions from 2018 all the way to 2025 right now. As you can see, in 2018, they made $2.0 billion all the way going through to 2025, increasing year over year. $2.3 billion in 2019, $2.8 billion in 2020, $3 billion in 2021, $3.9 in 2022, $4.2 billion in 2023, $4.4 in 2024, and right now, as of this recording, $4.3 billion in 2025. They're going to be set to beat that number as well. Remember, this is just off of microtransactions. We're not talking about game sales. We're not talking about any other contracts. This is just off of the MTX happening in every single game that they put out and pump out on a consistent basis. And to make matters even worse, because of the fact that EA is now on the hook for $20 billion in debt, having to pay that back to those investors, you're going to be seeing a lot of other games implement these kinds of transactions and basically just gouging you every single time. The $80 game, prepare to make it $99.99 at the very minimum, with microtransactions inside of it as well. The yearly release of Madden, FC, and everything else, guess what? You're going to see that too. And what's even worse is you can see it happening with Battlefield as well. And we've talked about what the EA CEOs have said before about microtransactions in their video games and what kind of content it brings to the actual player. Remember, the EA CEO himself said that player-made creations will become lucrative for EA, and here's what he meant. Minutes engaged and money spent correlates on an almost one-to-one basis, Wilson said. So whether we create the content or a community creates the content, provided it's high quality, provided it's engaging, it represents an extraordinary opportunity for us. And what he means by opportunity is, he means that sweet, sweet cash. And honestly, with everything happening in the gaming industry, I could absolutely see it. We consistently see so many games increase their price and then flop on the back end, or even in this case, possibly even be successful. Remember, there are actual journalists and people out there saying they are more than willing to pay $100 for GTA 6. We've also seen ex-CEOs of Blizzard and Microsoft say the dumbest things possible, with Mike Ibarra even saying, but hey, the console market isn't a successful business. It is if you do it right. No, Mike, that's not what people are talking about. There may be one console selling incredibly well, like the PS5, and PlayStation saying, oh, we're making a ton of money, but the thing is this, that company had to raise the prices of their consoles. They also had to go through and raise the prices of their games to $70. They've also raised the prices of their actual online service. We're not seeing success in the space of growing the actual market themselves. What we're seeing is companies say they're successful by, in fact, squeezing blood from a stone and trying to get every penny out of the actual consumer that they can right now. They are stuck at that 130, 140, 150 million people, and they can't get past it every single time. And every company has to see the line go up. So we're going to be seeing a lot of companies and corporations do whatever they can to squeeze out every penny that they can. And EA is going to be some of the worst offenders because of this, especially with this new deal. You can say, oh, they're not public anymore. They're not beholden to shareholders. No, instead now they're beholden to $20 billion of debt that they have to make back as soon as possible to even turn a profit for the actual investment firms that own them now. From the frying pan into the fire. And if you think I'm wrong about the gaming industry, check this out. Jez Corden tweeted this: the overall video game market hasn't seen any meaningful growth in the United States in the past 5 years. Not only are we seeing that right now, the fact that, hey, games cost more than ever and we're getting less content than ever, but take a look at this as well. According to PC Gamer and Circana, a new study shows that Gen Z is spending way less money on video games than older gamers. Young people can't even afford gaming anymore. where Matt Piscatella said this: video game spend among 18 to 24s is down sharply. Young grads are having a much tougher time finding jobs. Student loan payments are restarting for millions of borrowers. Credit card delinquency rates have risen to the highest before the pandemic. We are seeing a massive break of consolidation in the gaming space. And on top of that consolidation, we're not seeing any breaks for the actual customer and consumer. We're seeing the industry follow each other in lock and step, trying to go through and see what part that they can monetize the most. Where can they increase prices? Where can they get more money from you in the first place? We're seeing consoles hit $800 at MSRP. We're seeing other consoles get price increases multiple times throughout their life cycle. We're not seeing decreases in actual price throughout the lifespan. No, we're seeing companies make profit off of the consoles being sold and no longer take them at a loss. We're seeing actual services increase in price, games increase in price, and then we're seeing companies and publishers and developers take on billions of dollars in debt in order to go through and not have to report their own numbers to shareholders in order to go ahead and charge you more money to then pay off that debt and then put the blame back on you because you didn't buy the game. This isn't about my woke. This isn't about my consolidation. This is literally about the AAA gaming space in real time being caught off guard and not knowing what to do after the 2020 lockdowns, where everybody was trapped inside and the money had to keep going up from that space, not seeing it as a blip, but in fact as a rocket to go through and ride high in the sky for every shareholder. That's why the alleged insider trading may in fact have happened with the EA shareholders. Kind of weird how that happened, huh? It's also why you're seeing so many companies being bought and sold and traded right now because of it. And things are going to get even worse. If you thought prices were high now, they're going to get even higher. If you thought layoffs were bad, it's going to happen even more. And if you thought your favorite IP is going to be saved, baby, I got some bad news for you, because if EA doesn't make any money off of every single IP they put out now, it's going to be a massive problem. If you thought EA was liquidating companies before, they're going to be liquidating developers and studios right now. And it's going to happen even worse, especially if one thing flops when it shouldn't flop in the first place. This buyout is nothing like the Activision Blizzard deal buyout. And I know somebody's going to be like, well, Alex, what about Microsoft and ABK? Well, Microsoft bought ABK cash. They just said, okay, we're going to buy you now. They didn't go ahead and take out debt and then owe that money back to Microsoft. That's not what happened. That's not what ABK did. EA literally took on loans and debt on top of them in order to go through and make this deal happen in the first place to private equity firms. That is a big deal. That is a massive difference. In fact, the last company to do that was Toys R Us. And look what happened then. I've called this before and I'm calling it right now. There's going to be a second crash in the gaming industry if we're not seeing it happen right now in front of our eyes. And not a major crash like what happened back in the 80s where nobody played video games. We're talking about a massive crash in the AAA gaming space where companies are going to be too big and cannot go ahead and continue operating at that cost and scale, where this kind of thing is not sustainable. We're trying to go ahead and squeeze every penny out of your consumer is not going to be an effective strategy for actually increasing profit, where you're going to have to do other things to bring in more people into the video game space in the first place. And these strategies are already being implemented. You're seeing Xbox go full third party. You're seeing PlayStation go full third party. You can cry it's just for games, it's just live service games. No, they're going to be putting every game on every platform because there aren't enough people to buy those games in the first place, especially day one, especially at full price. You're going to be seeing services increase in cost and price like we saw with PS Plus and also with Game Pass. You're going to be seeing every other company have their own service like EA Play and Ubisoft Connect. It keeps happening over and over again. And until this balloon finally pops, it's going to get worse. And when it does pop, what's going to happen is the cycle will be reset. We'll all go back to indie games and AA games, and the market will then shrink on its own and then come back and grow again. But the problem is that burst is going to be pretty rough and pretty bad because a lot of people in the gaming sphere right now want to play video games, but simply can't afford them. You're seeing it happen in so many other spaces, and in my opinion, it's going to happen to gaming too, but I feel it's going to be a lot more violent, and you're going to be seeing Saudi Arabia, Tencent, and other companies going around and consolidating the industry under their umbrella and their wing and controlling the entire gaming space. And that is going to be more terrifying than any microtransaction you could ever buy. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Are you happy with this buyout? Are you unhappy with this buyout? What are your thoughts about the entire thing? I want to hear what you guys have to say. If you want to see more of this kind of content, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, my hot takes in the gaming industry, fanboy content, and live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 95,000 subs, and I just want to say thank you guys so very much. If you want Discord access or emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. When you do become a member, sync your YouTube account to Discord. It'll show up. You'll be good to go from there. Now, if you don't want to spend the buck, don't worry. Just come on down every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on this channel. I live stream wearing a banana suit and getting insulted with AITTS for about 5 hours in front of 800 people. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!